Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Jason Nunez, and let's queer up the USA view. New poll reveals most Americans think gender transition is morally wrong. A shocking new Gallup poll reveals that most Americans believe it's morally wrong to transition gender than to gamble, wear animal fur, or test medicines on animals. In its annual Values and Beliefs survey, Gallup asked U.S. adults about the moral acceptability of 20 different behaviors. The data shows only 40% believe transitioning gender is morally acceptable, while 54% say it's morally wrong. That's a decline from last year, when 44% supported the moral right to transition. By comparison, 47% said medical testing on animals is acceptable, and 56% said the same about the death penalty. Interestingly, 64% of Americans find same-sex relationships morally acceptable, showing a significant gap in how queer identities are viewed. Gallup noted that while most views remained consistent since last year, there were modest shifts around abortion and gender transition. The data splits sharply along party lines. While 71% of Democrats say transitioning is morally acceptable, just 9% of Republicans agree. Yet, despite moral opposition, Gallup found that 62% of Americans oppose laws banning gender-affirming care for trans youth. Over half of U.S. states have passed laws banning such care, leaving more than 40% of trans youth without access to life-saving support. So, in response to Gallup, who took these surveys?
Let's start there.
Let's start there. Who took these surveys? Who did they poll? And were they found to be relatable to the question?
What are the demographics of the?
What are the demographics? Did they rate their morality before taking 20, 40 different categories of morality questions? Mm-hmm. Did they ask the trans mom the mother of a trans child who got bullied in Chicago?
Yeah.
Did they ask the trans kid dad who took them to their first pride so that they can feel safe finally in a community? Who was asked these questions?
Right.
I have a feeling white cisgendered men from Idaho or Oregon were asked, okay, and that's that. Okay, that's who I think it was. All right, I mean, let's talk facts. 54% of Americans think transitioning is morally wrong, but 62% oppose bans on trans health care.
It makes no sense.
I'm super confused. Are you? Okay, we all are at this table. This Gallup poll just shows that people fear what they don't understand.
And they said 9% of Republicans. Is that what was that number?
9% of Republicans versus 71% of Democrats.
I think 71 is low for Democrats. I think that's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
That's true too, though.
Right. Well, is it too reductive to say that most Americans are ignorant and uneducated? Two things I consider to be morally wrong.
Right.
That's morally wrong. Being ignorant and uneducated.
And making such bold statements about something about which you have no idea.
No.
Yeah,
no clue.
I think Jesus himself would come down and be like,
oh
dude, educate yourself. You're a freaking moron.
Jesus is a full-on bleeding heart liberal.
The reality.
These people are not. I mean, the Christians are. They're not Christians. They're not being Christ-like in any way, shape, or form.
At all. Alexander, you were saying?
Oh, I was saying...
Because you were getting mad over there. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the same thing. I would love to know the actual numbers of who they polled. Did they wait outside of the most cultish churches and for the people
Chick-fil-A.
to come out? Yeah, Chick-fil-A. They stood next to the guy in the drive-thru who was taking the orders and right after said, oh, do you believe in this? It's ridiculous. I don't believe these numbers. It would make me question the entire polling company that did this poll. Mm-hmm. And on top of it, if it is true, which I doubt, I just think then the next question is there's a lot of Americans who honestly need to get lobotomized and stop answering polls.
Oh my God.
Already have been lobotomized.
That is not contingent with Queer News Tonight. That's my opinion.
You're so cute. But I mean, it's a real poll, right? A real stats, the Trevor Project, right? Every single year they take out their poll, right? And it's true that 9 out of 10 kids think about ending their lives, right? In the LGBTQ plus community, it shouldn't be that high.
It's terrible.
That is crazy. You know what I mean? The reality is that gender-affirming care reduces suicide by an astronomical amount, 80% or something crazy. That's not up for debate. You know what I mean? Gender-affirming care is a freaking lifesaver. All right. Yeah. And it's if you explain to people and you educated people, even the most God-fearing person.
The alleged pro-life people.
They're
alleged.
still facts.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying the alleged
No,
pro-life
yeah.
people
Argue.
they're not pro-life.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
And that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.